ICS President, board members, chairpersons of various boards, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, good morning once again. From the ESCC, and I want to take you through the role of boards in institutionalizing prevention of corruption in our various institutions. As I start that presentation, I'm guided by what the Prime Cabinet Secretary said here last week on performance of boards. He indicated that broadly only 5% of boards are able to pay dividends to the government. The rest are relying on the exchequer to support their operations. Now, what that says is that in the current framework, boards are struggling with the challenges of performance, and they are also having challenges dealing with corruption, because performance and corruption are two sides of the same coin, where if the levels of corruption are high, it is unlikely that the institution will perform very well. So I'll be taking you through this presentation by giving you a short introduction about corruption. I'll talk about state and effects of corruption in Kenya, the current evidence that is there, because that's the founding understanding of where we're coming from or where we are at as a nation. I will talk to you about the importance of prevention of corruption, and really the nature of corruption in state corporations, because from where we see as ESC, we work very closely with a lot of state corporations in terms of reviewing systems, policies, and procedures to identify corruption weaknesses and loopholes. We also are aware of certain risks, corruption risks that exist in state corporations, that you as a senior person in that institution need to seize of, and we'll be talking about what you need to do as a board member in institutionalizing systems that reject corrupt practices or unethical practices, and how to build institutional integrity. And of course, that will require us to also highlight certain areas of partnership with the Commission, what we can do together to support you forward. And then I will conclude. Now, corruption has been defined in many ways. I'm sure you have your own version of what corruption means, but in the global arena, corruption is seen as the abuse of office for private gain. That is according to the World Bank. And so, if you are chair, member of the board, or in senior management, it is important to take a step back and see if there are such abuses that are existing within the institution. Corruption is also behavioral because it is an interaction between two people, or individuals or more. It is structural because sometimes it's embedded in our society, in our economy, and in our institutions. And of course, when we see a political dimension in corruption, then we also see it as political abuse or trusted power or office for your own gain. So that those two pictures send two messages. It depends on how you interpret them. But one shows some serious ethical engineering, the other one shows something quite different. Of course, the two of them may have challenges of corruption, we never know, but the image sends a very strong picture in terms of how corruption can manifest itself. So because of this challenge of corruption, there have been deliberate international and regional action against corruption. And at the international level, we have the United Nations Convention against corruption that provides a framework within which the state parties to that convention have to work by developing policies, regulations, and laws that govern this particular challenge. At the regional level, especially within the continent, we have the African Union Convention for Preventing and Combating Corruption. Nationally, we have the Constitution of Kenya, 2010, that talks about leadership and integrity in Chapter 6 and sets very clear benchmarks for which state and public officers are required to conduct themselves. That has been operationalized by the Leadership and Integrity Act 2012. I'll be talking a little bit later about what the Act says in relation to the issue of discussion today. And I think it's also important to know that corruption is also criminalized in this country, and that Corruption and Economic Crimes Act 2003 in the various sections set out there highlights what are the offenses of corruption. I'm sure you're aware of bribery, fraud, embezzlement, misappropriation, abuse of office, and even dealing in suspect property. So having understood what corruption is, how we are trying to respond to the problem, what are some of the offenses that are related, the state of corruption is highlighted in the context of the Transparency International Corruption Perception Index, which 2022 ranked Kenya number 123 out of 180, with a score of 32 out of 100, where if you are moving towards 100, you will be lower. Where you are tending towards 0, you will be very likely. And in fact, at some point, you can even be considered a failed state. So 32 out of 100 in the exam is not a good performance. So I think as a country we need to retrospect and we need to be clear in terms of where there is beauty as an issue. Surveys done by ourselves and the Commission also have very interesting findings. One, it says that those who have encountered corruption in 2021 when they came to our institution to seek services were 23.2%. So out of 100 people, about 3 people have encountered corruption, about 2 people have encountered corruption, and about 2 people again out of 10 were asked to pay correct. And slightly over 2 people paid 16.5%. The average bribe that is now being demanded in this country is 5,888 compared to 3,833. So whether it's a contractor or a supplier or a mamboga looking for services in a health facility, the average comes to 5,800. Now you can imagine how many Kenyans come to government offices to seek services on a daily basis, and you can see corruption is an industry, it's an enterprise that is legally benefiting some people, some of you could even be seated here. Now, effects of corruption in this country. According to the Institute of Economic Affairs, this country lost about 730 billion shillings in corruption. That is equivalent to 7% of our GDP. And of course, in terms of illicit financial flows, we lost about 380 in 2020, and I think the number will be going up. Because today, I was reading something about a task force we put in place. It includes the place to bring together various government agencies to look at the issues of money laundering and terrorist financing. I think we are headed this year's situation if you read the papers this morning. Now, poverty rate is at 3.4% in 2022, according to the World Bank, and that's can be directly attributed to issues of corruption as well. That meant 72% of our population last year lived below $1.90 a day, approximately 8.9 million Kenyans are in extreme poverty. You can see the dire state of employment that is on the rise. So you can see those figures are depicting growing slum environment, waters that are polluted, and other parts of this country increasing levels of insecurity. So those are the impacts of corruption in our environment. I think corruption, the prevention is the best approach to address the causes of corruption. Because when it follows aspects that have stolen, it's a question of the cost has gone and we see what you can say. Through prevention, it is possible to close all the loopholes, close all the gaps, build institutional integrity, and also enhance ethical behavior among our public servants. So we see corruption as a governance problem, where systems, policies, procedures, and practices of work in various public agencies are not good. They facilitate corrupt practices. And if it is a governance problem, it means the fish rots out from the head, isn't it? And the heads are already here. That is a fact. Because if you can't be ahead of the fight against corruption in our midst and within our institutions, it is also not in order to blame our agencies for not doing their bit. If your children in your house are not behaving ethically, you don't go and blame a neighbor or the society. You start looking at what role you play as a parent to address the problem. So again, prevention is about reducing opportunities for corrupt conduct and using proactive methods to detect and prevent what we call early warning systems. You know, if your staff are behaving unethically, you see the number of disciplinary cases on the rise. Yes, the ACC is the number of posts that from their agencies is increasing. So sometimes even the amount of budget that is allocated to your institution is a very clear indicator of things to come. So those are early warnings that we need to put our eyes on our hands to be able to see how we can respond to the challenge of corruption. So prevention is a participation issue within the institution where we review the systems, policies and procedures, we mark corruption risks, and where possible we also rate them and we recommend how to mitigate those risks. So the benefits is improved personal and institutional integrity within your agencies and in society. It is also about efficiency and effectiveness of our operations. It's about improved responsibility and responsiveness for ourselves and our staff in terms of how they, work with the Kenyans who come to see services from us. It's about image, because a corruption-free institution is conflict to society. I think the government has just said that the confidence of investors, stakeholders, and shareholders are critical. It's about growth of the institution and reversing the trends where we have to rely on the extra all the time and instead we able to pay dividends to the Kenyans to pay taxes. So in state corporations and in relation to board members directly, as EACC in the last 3 years we have received 53 reports, 90% of which order on investment and certification and values of office by governments, chairpersons, and board members. 70% on issues related to our administration, so with the calculus, most likely we refer to the Commission on Administrative Justice to address. 28 of such reports are within our investigative framework, and we are looking at them. But we have also noted factors that may be contributing to some of these challenges that we see. One is the lack of corruption policy or strategy, or a plan or structures in place within our institutions to help you address the challenge of corruption. Secondly, there are accountability challenges, weak enforcement of internal controls where internal auditors are appointed in-house. There's a bit of reluctance at the board level to address some of these issues because people are either complacent or there are ways in which such weaknesses support our ethical conduct. Conflict of interest, influencing procedures, inside trading, political interference, and even corruption, and to a large extent, even disagreements between boards and CEOs on how we need to undertake our operations. Sometimes there's a tendency for the board to cross over and interfere in operations. That compromises accountability and oversight, and the work we're supposed to undertake in ensuring proper management of the affairs of that institution. that we have noted in state operations are largely in 3 areas, but there are more areas that are affected. We have seen boards trying to institute legal procedures, creating committees at all levels to regulate procurement. And if you are keen, in I think March of 2019, or if not March, October of 2019, the Commission had issued a circular providing advisories to all state corporations on the involvement of boards on procurement processes. We have seen qualified personnel being involved with procurement issues, and while the law says something different, we see weak disposal mechanisms for any surplus and serviceable assets. And this is serious because a lot of those assets are then getting lost. So I want to ask all members, do you regularly update your IT asset register? Do you know what it was spent today? And are you able to respond to challenges if there is a query around disposal of assets that are unserviceable or surplus? So in a nutshell, it's a serious contravention of the law, the procurement law and regulations which were promulgated in 2020. In the area of financial management, we have seen a lot of concentration of accounting documents, especially receipts, vouchers, and invoices. And these are real cases. We will not mention the state corporations that are involved, but they know those we have been to, they know. We are seeing collusion with debtors. We are seeing weak press management systems where people take multiple witnesses and they don't really retire those witnesses. There is no proper accountability. There are delays in payment of supplier for one reason or another. There is discretion in investment decisions, especially at lower levels. And this leads to loss of public funds in the human resource management, irregular recruitment and promotion, skill training. I think early this week or early last week, there was a question with me about board chairman being in all the trainings and maybe more than board members tonight. I don't know how that is true for the board. I've had some questions about board members last year. If it can be done at the board, the transition mechanism takes all the way to the other levels, where we see skill training, remission of statutory, and third-party deduction. The other day, someone was giving me a good example how one corporation is not permitting this clear taxes, they are not permitting pension, anything else that are supposed to go elsewhere, including the sample contribution. That was here, I think last week, in a particular existing corporation. So these are not small issues, they are life, they are happening, and the board really needs to come up and start to be counted on how we can address some of these challenges. So then, the role of the board are various. Generally, I think one of the things you need to ensure happens is that you have various policy documents in place that relates to corruption prevention. You need to maintain effective oversight of fraud risk management, especially when they are pointed out at an early stage. Monitor management fraud, because management fraud is also there, and any control related activities. That is why you have the risk audit committee that is supposed to report the board on some of these issues. You need to implement an effective ethics effective business ethics program. You need to show a business case for corruption prevention. How will you support the institution and turnaround where it is not relevant, where it is sustain its growth, or even improve? You need to hire professional and entirely driven. When you bring talented people in management and they are known to squander or plunder public resources elsewhere, and we accommodate them within our institutions, we are not doing very well in the board, that institution, and indeed the government. We need to set up appropriate structure. We do not expect the management and staff to fight corruption, and we at the top probably engage or undermine efforts that are being taken to address corruption. I talked about setting up audit committees. I believe they exist in most of the boards, but how effective are they in dealing with issues of risk, fraud, and corruption? Where necessary, and it is a requirement as the performance contract framework, establish a whistleblower mechanism that allows for people within the institution to tell you what is going on. And where necessary, even report to ESC where things go wrong. As a person who has been engaged in some of these processes, I can tell you the best reports come from whistleblowers because they see what's happening. As a big plan, they will be executed. And I know in some areas, these people are not working. Role of the board is some specifics. The board needs to spearhead capacity building into the institution. We want to ensure that you are able to set up and ensure that you have a vibrant prevention committee at the management level. It is important that we set up committee units where they are not there and equip them with a program. You need to train integrity assurance officers that will help to undertake the day-to-day mainstream of prevention measures. You need to undertake corruption risk assessment where it is not possible for you to do. We are able to train you and the staff to do it yourself. If it's not possible and you rely on us, we will come forward and support you in carrying out corruption risk assessment. Please ensure that you develop corruption prevention plans that outline strategies for filling any loopholes and improving controls within the institution. That particular plan will also help you define the roles of every stakeholder internally, especially management and staff. It will also determine if there are any resource requirements and, of course, any resource areas. As I mentioned earlier, you also need to have a corruption reporting mechanism that allows you to address some of the issues administratively and where there are criminal conduct that has been discovered. We encourage you to ensure that such reports are on our desk at the commission so that we can do proper investigation and recommendations to the DPP. There is need for you to develop a positive organizational culture and ethical behavior because this is what promotes transparency and accountability, trust, honesty within the institution. So your organizational culture must be able to support your vision, mission, and core values. E.g., for example, meritocracy. How well do you rate meritocracy within your institution? How well do you rate professionalism within your institution? Because these are some of the benchmarks of ethical institutional behavior. So, legal provisions on ethics compliance as far as boards are concerned. The Leadership and Integrity Act from Section 12. The Leadership and Integrity Act, Section 12, expects board members and indeed public and state officers to self-declare. Self-declaration facilitates the Commission to carry out integrity verification of the state or public officer. And to date, we have put 88 board members on notice who have not done so. So if you are a chair, a member of the board, please go back and just find out how many of your members have done self-declaration. Because I know in the recent past, there have been a lot of the constitution of some of these boards. So it is possible some members will not have applied. So we want to request you to just find out and encourage your members and also start to help us in this particular endeavor. The Public Officer Ethics Act in Section 26 and 27 requires a declaration of income, assets, and liabilities. So if you are a new board member within 30 days of joining, you should have done your first declaration. And as we continue serving every 2 years as defined in the law, and of course when it exceeds within 30 days, again, you should have declared. Now, the proposal board also reinforces some of these provisions, especially in the Leadership and Integrity Act, and I want to talk particularly about the role of the board in procurement. As in page 32, if you read the board, it talks about the role of the board as formulating policies related to procurement, ensuring that the procurement function is established within the institution, approving procurement plans, and monitoring the implementation. Please put an emphasis on approving and monitoring, not implementing. Are we together? Because then you are overstepping your mandates and interfering with what the Procurement Act expects of the board. There have been cases where board members want to be involved in the implementation of programs and procurement plans that have been put forward. And these are made as some reports being made to the Commission on issues of conflict of interest and the flouting procurement rules and regulations. Embracing real ethical leadership is also well articulated on page 41 and 42, and as I mentioned earlier, building institutional integrity will require ethical leadership at the top. A leadership that promotes transparency and accountability in the institution, that puts in place systems that allow that transparency and accountability to thrive. One professor, Professor Robert in 1988, talked about how controlling corruption needs to be done. And he gave us an equation on how to address the challenge of corruption. And he said corruption is equal to discretion in decision making, plus monopoly in the way you take those decisions, minus accountability in the way you account for the decisions you take. So ethical leadership requires us to reduce discretion, minimize monopoly decision making among ourselves, and enhance the levels of accountability, which will translate into honesty and proper systems and effectiveness in our operations. So I just wanted to read that these are requirements under Section 13 of the Leadership and Integrity Act, where it talks of ethical and moral requirements of states and public officers. And I invite you to read Section 13 of the Leadership and Integrity Act. So in terms of areas of partnerships, the Commission has always worked with the boards in terms of training and induction. So when you have specific induction programs to yourselves, please feel free to invite ESCC to talk about this at length, especially the requirements under the Leadership and Integrity Act. What are the expectations of our board members? We will be able to support you there. Secondly, we are ready to support development of corruption-related policies and plans by first of all training you and where necessary giving technical support. Board charters, when you formulate or review them, please ask yourself to what extent do they address issues of conduct of board members as it relates to issues of corruption prevention. Setting up integrity units, we have guidelines and processes that you need to go through and to ensure that those units, where necessary and applicable, they report directly to the board. Having codes of conduct, I think most of our institutions do have them. From time to time, we need to review them because the Leadership and Integrity Act requires us to have codes of conduct, have gift management policies and registers, and all those have to be approved and monitored by the board in terms of the way they are being enforced. Self-declaration and wealth declaration is a requirement of the law, so where it has not been done, we will be calling you or reminding you to ensure that that is done. Please, where possible, report corruption where you see it. We have an anonymous reporting system on our website, which doesn't require you to disclose who you are, what your name is. what you're interested in is the information. Again, this is a very reliable source of information because these are insiders telling us what is happening within the institution, and they have informed very good responses from our end. We will also help you to undertake sensitization and awareness among your staff so that you bring about knowledge and understanding about their own in the fight against corruption. So in conclusion, I want to say that all of us are aware that corruption is valid in our country based on the evidence I shared earlier. I want to say that all of us have a responsibility to fight corruption within our sphere of influence. Let's not say that we are ESC there, we are funded by the taxpayer to do their job. If all of us in our bits, the ESC will have a very easy job in helping to bring corruption down. So we have a responsibility, and we want to request you to make sure you play that role effectively as always. Now, state corporations, we know, are a daunting task in terms of turning around performance and institutions, improving image, and also addressing corruption. We want to request you to rise to the occasion and deliver. Please set the tone at the top and establish a strong corporate governance and compliance with government systems. Partner and collaborate with us to help you undertake some of these responsibilities. And obviously, if we are able to play our role effectively, then all of us will reap the dividends of our reputation. Thank you. Thank you very much.
My name is Arthur Protect from Prayer. Thank you, President, for a very good, very clear presentation. You have mentioned the issue of self-declaration and wealth declaration. I think I understand the part of wealth declaration of self-declaration comes very clear. Maybe you can take that.
Police Owners Compensation Fund, PCF in short. My question was on the wealth declaration. I was just wondering, there's been this more or less like a joke that you can declare in case you're corrupt, so that you work towards justifying your wealth. I just want to find out from the gentleman if they have any mechanisms either through KRA or any other agencies that can actually reconfirm the true figure or something like that. Thank you.
Those two good questions. I think one I was self-declaration was not very clear. As I mentioned, the Leadership and Integrity Act in Section 12 requires people seeking public offices, whether appointed or elected, to fill a self-declaration form, which is given as a schedule to the Leadership and Integrity Act 2012. That form, you can see any institution that is in the public service that is declaring some vacancies, normally says that you need to seek self-declaration from ESC. I'm sure you've seen that. Now, in the case of board members, you see you are appointed, and at that point, probably you are not required to, required to fill that form. Is that correct? So once you join, we still expect you to regularize to be in compliance with the law. And that's why we were saying 88 board members to date have not done so. So we work very closely with SCAC to ensure that happens. And we are requesting that you do so. This particular self-declaration allows us to carry out an integrity vetting from the person. We do our own work and provide reports to the entities that are putting you on that job. Is that clear?
Yes.
Okay. Now, is wealth declaration a joke? I want to say it is not. It is a very important exercise that we have carried out in this country for a very long time. There are bottlenecks in the law in terms of access to wealth declarations, but as ESC, whenever we need your declaration, we will get a court order and we will access it in accordance with the law to see if what you own on the ground is commensurate with what you have declared and your own non-sources of income. So yes, we access those declarations where necessary to be able to aid in the investigation. So it is not an exercise in futility. I think what we need to be asking our parliamentarians is to improve access to those declarations. When you go to some jurisdictions out there in the in Western Europe, even Eastern Europe, these declarations, especially for top officials like yourself, are online. So if you want to look for a problem, you just type his name or his ID number, and you're able to do that. Of course, in the area of care, you work with them during investigations because people purport to earn incomes for which sometimes they do not pay taxes. So the tax return is also very important in determining whether your source of income is legitimate or not. Thank you.